Hey guys, Baumhardt here. So for today's video, I'll be making a mountain man knife out of this leaf spring. So this is the same leaf spring that I used for the CX build. And so this is a custom order going out to the Shaw Pipe Company. The owner of that company reached out to me and asked me to make him this custom mountain man knife. So it's kind of going to be a fighting knife wilderness blade. So about 6-inch to 7-inch long blade with a antler handle. I bought a nice piece of deer antler that I'm going to use for the handle, and so for the blade I'm going to use this because I like the thickness of it, and then also I'll be able to cut it down about here. I'll make this into the tang, and then the rest of this will be the blade. So I think it'll work out real nice. You can check out the Shaw Pipe Company. They got a good Instagram page, real beautiful pipes out of corncob wood, clay, so real neat small business, so check them out if you're into that kind of thing. But first thing I'm going to do on this build is I'm going to cut it down with the angle grinder, and then I'll clean off some of this rust, and we'll see what we got to work with. Okay, so the steel looks pretty good. There's a little bit of pitting down here by the where the tang is going to be, so most of that will get forged out anyways. And I'm alright with a little bit of pitting. You know, that'll just add to the mountain man look. Most of that will probably get forged out. But yeah, I just want to clean off that rust just to see you know, how bad it was looking. And so it's definitely acceptable. So we'll get this hot and start forging. So to get the tang to fit into the antler, I got to keep it pretty thin, especially up here by the shoulders. So I'll probably do a few more heats of this, keep working it. So I've switched over to my lighter hammer, and I've also got to be real careful about not getting that too hot and starting to melt it off. So I'll work this down a little bit more, and then we'll switch over to shaping up the blade. So I want this to be kind of a elongated drop point, very much like an old school butcher knife. Okay, so I've got the blade shaped up a little bit better now. Nice drawn out drop point there. You can see the spine is significantly thicker than the edge, which is good. We got a good taper in there. I'm going to probably go through one more time and just sort of redefine the bevels, neaten it out a bit. And that should be good for the rough forging. Okay, so I'm happy with the overall shape and the thinness of the blade. I got it straightened up, so now we're just going to leave it in the forge and let it anneal, and I'll start grinding on it. So what I'll probably do is I'll neaten up the shoulders on the grinder itself and get that shaped up for the best fit to the antler. So, but I'm not going to mess with it right now, because right now the tang is nice and in line properly with the blade, so I'm not going to mess with a good thing. So we'll call it good on this knife, let her anneal, and we'll get back to it. Well, here's what the knife's looking like after it's all cleaned up, so maybe this will give you a little bit better look at it. So pretty neat. I'll do a little bit of cleaning up on the profile and all that, and it's fairly thin on the edge. There's the spine. We'll probably neaten up in this area here a little bit too, but hopefully shouldn't be too much grinding. Okay, so I got the blade all ground pretty much to a rough shape, so it's still fairly dull on the edge. I didn't want to make it fully sharp or anything like that, because I still got to heat treat it. So the customer was asking for a antler handled knife, and he sent me some photos kind of to show what it was that he was looking for. And so this is something that I purchased off of a Etsy seller's store. Real nice piece of, I believe it's a mule deer, but it's got some really nice ridges in here, and so grabbing it like this, your fingers kind of fall into place here. So this will be a real nice kind of fighting knife. So I'm happy with the shape of that. So now we got to go through and drill out the top of the antler. I've done this in the past just with my hand drill with pretty good success. One of my new tools that I've got here is a drill press. This is probably your first time seeing this in use on camera, and I've kind of got it jury rigged up here to hold the antler here. So I got the bench vise clamped down, and I'll try to hold the antler in this and drill it out nice and even. But from looking at this, the tang is a little too long, so I'm probably gonna have to cut this tang down so it doesn't come through the side here. But I've got my drill bit taped off where I want it to stop so it doesn't go all the way through. This is a 3/16 inch drill bit, so it's about the same width as the tang of the knife. So I need to do about 4 holes in a row to cover the full width of the tang right here. Okay, so I got my antler in the vise here. I've got it taped up just to try to, you know, protect the exterior of the antler, keep it from getting dirty or scratched up or anything like that. So I've got a line with the marker drawn where the tang is going to go in as a guide. I'm going to take this nice and easy because the last thing I want to do is drill through the outside of the antler. So we'll give it a shot. Okay, so I think I maxed out the depth of the drill here. I didn't quite reach the tape line, but that's okay. That means I didn't go all the way through the handle. So you can see we got the 2 holes that are pretty close together. So I think what I'm going to try to do now is just go freehand on it, holding it in my hand, which of course is not advisable on one of these things, but it's not going too terribly fast. So I'm just looking to connect these two holes. Go up and down, applying a little bit of pressure that way. So the idea is to make one slit. There we go. Okay, so I can stick the tang of the knife in to about there, which obviously is not nearly enough, but it's about halfway through. So I knew just by lining it up that the tang was probably going to be a little too long, or it'll be too difficult to get that perfect without, you know, coming out the side. So the thing I'm going to do now is cut this tang down a bit, grind it down a bit, which is a shame because it came out real nice. This would be a great tang for going through wood, but Antler can be a little bit tougher. I mean, sometimes you're able to burn it through, like in this porous material here that I was drilling through initially. That actually will burn through quite well, but the perimeter of it, this outer layer, is really hard, and it isn't conducive to burning through at all. So you know, you can waste all day trying to burn through that. So since this is the crown, the base of the antler, I think it gets kind of harder as you get closer to the end itself. So I don't really think trying to burn this tang through is going to do me a whole lot of good. So I'm going to try to keep from it as much as possible. So we'll get this tang ground down and go from there. Alright, well, there's what the tang is looking like. I measured it out to how far the deepest bit of my drill went. So just the way that the amount of leverage I have with the drill press, I think that's really all about what I'm going to get. And again, I don't want to risk you know, drilling through the side of this. So so I think I'm good on depth. I'm still not getting it as deep as it needs to go. So it looks like it's maxing out as far as the width is concerned. So I could either grind this down, but I'm going to try just with a file, kind of expanding it on the inside here. So I want to keep as much mass in the tang as possible, because sometimes you got to make these tangs for these antler knives kind of thin and light, but it is going to throw off the balance a little bit, and I want this to be, you know, nice and strong. Alright, well here's what I got. As far as the fit up is concerned, it's not too bad. So I seated it. Hello. I seated it basically by stabbing it into this scrap wood here. So it's fairly solid. A little bit of wiggle, not too bad. You know, obviously once I glue it in, it'll be solid. But I'm probably going to do a little bit of a ferrule out of copper and put at least one rivet pin in. Two would be nice. It might be hard to line that up. I might try to get this seated in a little bit deeper, or I think if I do some sort of cap on top out of copper, that'll kind of help aesthetically fit it all up, and maybe I'll make this into some kind of thumb ramp or something like that. But I don't think it's too bad. At least in camera, it's got a good look, and you can't really see it, not a good angle for it, but it feels pretty good in the hand with these little just the curve of the knife. So it's got a nice kind of slashing power because of that kind of forward curve of the handle. So, but we got a long way to go, and it's all a lot of kind of fit and finish detail work. Just gonna take my time and try not to screw anything up. So it doesn't need to be perfect, just needs to kind of give us the rough outline, and I left some wiggle room because when we drill the holes, I know it won't line up perfectly. Okay, that's about what we need to do. Let me reconfigure the drill press to its normal drilling duties. Got a little drill press vise to go with this thing. So kind of get that into position there. Loosen this bolt and just do a slight adjustment to the next spot that we're going to drill through. So I'm going to put this hole right next to the other hole, but I don't need them to be touching because I'm going to use my little hand files and I will connect the holes. And so the drill bit I'm using is just a little bit smaller than the tang. The diameter of the drill bit is smaller than the thickness of the tang, so that way I'll get a nice tight fit. And so when I get it started, the copper's so soft, I'll kind of give it a pull just to put a little indent in the copper, give it a spot to bite. I'll go through with my files and connect all the dots. So what I like to do is use a square file to cut straight down through the holes, because the tang of the knife is of course square. And then I'll go back through with a flat file and neaten everything up. Okay, so we got a pretty neat slot there, and we'll see how the knife fits. Yeah, got to be a little bit wider. Yeah, right there is where it's getting hung up, so it's alright, we'll keep at it. Okay, there we go, we got a nice fit going there. Now we can see how it feels on the antler. That looks pretty good. I'll probably need to do a little bit of refining here, but I think this will do a good job of kind of sealing up the gap in between the blade and the antler and all that. But overall, I am happy with the way that's looking. So we can snug that on there, and then from this side here, we'll trace this out, and then I'll be able to cut it out. Alright, so we've hit the blade. Pretty nice and easy. Okay, we're through the blade into the rest of the antler. Nice and easy. Good thing we're through. Yep, there we go. Nice hole through and through. So yeah, I mean, with the antler being such an awkward, or unusual shape, inconsistent shape, this kind of thing is always tough, but with the drill press, at least, it's able to get, you know, one consistent hole, and it'll be fairly easy to get that that pin through there without it, you know, having trouble lining up and all that. So if you've done it with a hand drill, you know the pain, and if you've always had a drill press, you're probably going, you know, yeah, you should have got one of these a long time ago. So I tried making a ferrule for this thing, and it really didn't go too good. Just trying to get that to fit around this antler as snug as it needs to be is just a real chore. So I'm gonna forgo this particular bit of it. I do have a you know, store-bought brass guard, you know, from a knife making supply website. So I think I'm gonna throw this on here. So for a fighting knife, that'll be useful, you know, keep your hand from going up on the blade. And if we do a little fit up there, it looks pretty nice, you know, it looks good. We'll have to shape down the antler there a little bit, and but now my hole is lined up. I'm going to leave that copper on there since I went to the trouble of doing it. It'll kind of have that you know, little layered effect, so that'll be nice, I think. So I did a little bit of grinding on the tang to get this guard to fit. I need to do a little bit more. I just need a little more leeway. So I'm going to start taking off some material over here and kind of redefine that choil area. I'm going to use some files to do that. Okay, so there we go. We got it to fit up, so that's good, very good. And that's that also works well because that's real solid right now, real tight fit. So we got a little bit of a dip there from the blade to the antler. Now that's not too aesthetically pleasing. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my file. I'm going to remove some of the brass here by this portion so that it can slide this way. It'll be a little more flush with the spine to the back of the antler. So we'll get okay, so I got it to fit up there. So we're looking good. There's a little bit of wobble now. So I think, but the main thing is I got that in there. So if we look at it from this angle here, you can see that the antler itself is a little bit wider than the guard, of course. So I'll probably do a little bit of a feathering grind to kind of even everything out, so that the handle will kind of taper to more of an oval shape to meet the guard. And I'll just do that on the belt sander here, and I'll probably also add a second hole there so that the tang's got two pins going through it, just for a little bit of added strength. Okay, so you can see the second hole I drilled and tanged there. It might not be perfectly centered, but they get all the way through, so it'll work for my purposes. Everything's about ready for heat treatment, but I do want to add some file work to the spine before we proceed. So this is going to be a little bit different type of file work than I've done in the past, so I figured I'd show you. So I've got a small triangular file, and so I'm going to make basically a long line. And then next to it with the full round file, I'm going to do like a smaller kind of dished section. And so this is not a style that I'm inventing. This, you know, I've seen this on other knives. It looks fairly historic, especially on like Scottish dirks. I think it's a common pattern. I want that to be fairly shallow. And then we'll go back again next to it with the triangular file and put another long mark in there. Okay, there we go. Not too shabby. And then one last thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to put my maker's mark on the antler using my Dremel. So I've quenched and tempered this knife. I quenched it in deer tallow and did a triple temper in the oven. I also put it on the wire wheel and cleaned off all the fire scale. So here's how it's looking. I forgot to film all of that stuff, so we'll just pick up from here. And basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to grind in the final edge, or you know, finish up this bevel. I left it a little thick just to kind of keep it from warping during the heat treatment. So we'll grind in the final bevel, and then I'll epoxy it into the antler handle. Okay, well, here's what the finished knife is looking like. So overall, pretty happy with the way this one turned out. It's got a real nice feel to it. So you can either, just the way that the knurls on the antler are set up, these little bumps here kind of lock in the hand. That kind of braces the pinky back here. So this grip right here has got a really good feel. And then you can choke back here, and then you've got these three, I guess two little valleys there. And for me anyways, the pinky and the ring finger just sort of fit right in there. And obviously you'll never know unless you hold it, and there's only one person who's gonna know what I'm talking about here. But you hold it like here, hold it like this, and it just fits the hand to me perfectly. And with the burr of the end of the antler here, you know that it's not coming out of your hand ever. So that's why I was able to do some really good cuts with this knife. So I've never cut that rope with a knife this short, and even still, you know, I had to do my part and do a execute proper technique, but I was able to do it. So I was really happy with that, and especially for such a thick knife, I was really impressed with that ability to cut there. So for a fighting knife, actually pretty darn good. You know, light, fast, and still able to deliver powerful cuts. So the guard keeps your finger from going up onto the blade. and it fits that mountain man aesthetic real nice. So obviously every antler is going to be a individual, so I plan on making some more of these, but there'll be no knife just like this one. So really cool, unique piece that I wish I was keeping. But okay, so here's the sheath that I came up with. This is styled after the kind of the Native American style of sheath. This is used in the movie Jeremiah Johnson, where the belt goes through here and it's worn over all your layers of clothing. So for a mountain man, really good carry option. And then I've got the brass rivets going through, connecting it all together. And so this secures this knife really well. I did a little bit of wet molding there, so as of right now the knife is not going to shake out, which is good. I'm sure it'll break in over time, but real handsome look. I'm really happy with the way this turned out. This is my first time doing this type of sheath, and you can still get a full fighting grip on this knife as you pull it out. So as I said in the intro, this knife is going out to owner of the Shaw Pipe Company, and he actually sent me a bunch of the pipes. I wanted to show you guys these. These are really awesome handmade pipes. This is the sod buster. This is actually antique walnut from the 1800s. This is the sawtooth. It's meant to resemble the Sawtooth Mountains in Utah, which is where the company's based out of. This has got a long stem. He's got some other ones with the the kind of Gandalf style long stems. All kinds of neat pipes. And then this one is a clay pipe. So it's a simple pipe, but it's really one of my favorites because this is historically accurate to what like the original fur trappers, the voyageurs, would have had, and we're kind of famous for all of these pipes are really affordably priced. So I want to say like this one's like in that $50 range. I don't want to quote prices, they might be subject to change, but check out his Etsy web store, Shaw Pipe Company, and follow his Instagram, and you'll get all the details there. So as you guys know, I like to support small business and support American-made products. So these, just like my knives, are individually handmade. So I'm gonna get this in the mail. I've enjoyed smoking these, so I'll probably light one up after the video here. So as always, thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video, and until next time, be more Viking.